for each of the books. So it sounds like it's actually kind of a hybrid game in the sense we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books, and then we have to decide whether they have a written summary or not. Written summaries will be required for one or more of the books. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I guess what we could do is we could do you get a written summary or you do not get a written summary. Or you could do S and not S, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so no two books that are summarized, they're discussed in consecutive weeks. Okay, so we can't see two summarizations back to back. All right, if N is not summarized, then both R and T are summarized. So if N is not summarized, because our summary notation is going to take place below it. You could do N for not summarized or cross out S. Then R and T are summarized. So R is summarized and T is summarized. Questions on that so far?
Why should you do it going laterally? Why didn't you do like the arrows, one going up, one going down?
Oh, you certainly could, but this is not an in-out game, so this is probably just going to be a if-then statement by itself.
Okay.
Yeah. Normally we'd want to, so we could link them together, but N is discussed earlier than T, and T is discussed earlier than O. N comes before T, and T comes before O. Okay. Alrighty. F is discussed earlier than O. F comes before O. And O is discussed earlier than K and R. Oh, great. So K and R come after O. That's all 6 variables, right? So we actually have everything in a chain, which means who here is the most constrained? O. O is most constrained. So O has to have 3 before it and 2 after it, which means O can only be right there. Okay. So we're going to have to put O into this slot. Now we know that if O goes there, K and R come after it, so K and R are going to come into these 2 slots. But I don't know the order, so I'm just going to put an arc. Then we have NTF. We don't know the order, but we know N comes before T, so this is going to be N dash T with F as a floater. Okay. Do we know anything about summary or not summary? Not really. If N is not summarized, then R and T are. But that's all we know. Okay. So at that, I'd probably go into the questions. Any questions on the setup?
Can you infer that there can only be 3 books that are summarized?
That's a good question. We can't have 2 S's consecutive, right? So if I did S, 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 yeah, that's the best I can do.
I mean,
Yeah, so 3 max. So we could note that, say S, S, S is the max. A max of 3. I don't want to suggest that they can be consecutive, but yeah. Good. All right, which questions in here do we want to try to do together? 14, okay. If O is summarized, which of the following cannot be true? So this is 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We know O is 4th, right? So we'll go ahead and write S below that. If O is summarized, what do we know right off the bat?
That the ones on either side of it can't be summarized.
That's absolutely right. So these 2 right here cannot be summarized, so I'm going to put N here, or you could do not S either way. And, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, N was probably a stupid choice, because we have N in this game, but whatever. So, at least it's on the bottom row. Okay, so N, we can't have any summaries right here. Well, K and R. The only thing that we still have K and R goes here, right? I guess my only thought would be if N is not summarized, then T would be summarized, which means you'd have N T because we couldn't put T there. Right? But that's if N is not summarized. If N is summarized, then that rule goes away and we can have a little more flexibility. Thoughts? So we're kind of stuck here. We're at a conditional. We could create these two scenarios, or we could just say, I'm aware of that. Let's go into the answers. Which one following cannot be true? Well, let's start. I'm just scanning these answer choices. Let's start with N is not summarized, because when N is not summarized, we started to play with that. We know something's going to happen. Okay. So if N is not summarized, right, then as we were just discussing, N would have to go here so that T, who is summarized, can go here. Are we cool with that? So then this is not summarized. That means F is left, so F goes there. And then we have R and, what do we have? Yeah, K and R. And R would have to go here, and it could be summarized, and K could go here. Do we see any problems with this? No. Okay, so answer choice E, which made things happen, works, so it's out. F is the first book discussed. Now I'm just going through the answer choices. F is the first book discussed. Well, I don't see why that couldn't be. So I'm just going to move on. K is the sixth book discussed. Not true here, but if N were summarized, I don't see why we couldn't switch K there. F is summarized. Okay. What happens if F is summarized? F can't go in this third slot, right? So F is going to have to go in first or second. So if F is summarized, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means if F is summarized, it's going to go in the first two slots, and who's not going to be summarized?
T.
Well, if F goes first, I guess what I'm thinking is that, yeah, T would not be summarized either, actually. But N wouldn't be, because whether I put F here, whether this F goes here or here, right, that means the summary is going to go here or here. N has to go in one of these two slots, because N has to come before T, right? So N is going to be in one of these slots, which means N is not going to be summarized, because summarization can't be consecutive. So I can actually replace this with F going back and forth with N here, and F would be summarized and N would not be summarized, which means T would be summarized, and T has to go here because it comes after N. So T would go here and it would be summarized, but that's not possible in this game because the third slot can't be summarized.
Is there any way to have done this question without basically doing them out?
We tried E. We didn't really do A. We just kind of said, seems possible. Same with B, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would do. I wouldn't test them out. I would just say, I don't see what's wrong. Now, if you don't see what's wrong with C, then you get down to D and you have to go back. You do have to start testing out.
Yeah.
But I think if you see this inference right here, that this has to be N, as soon as you say N is, or sorry, what was it? F is summarized, F can't go there, so then you have to put it up here, and that's where you run into problems. So, Depending on whether you saw that or not, you'd have to test them out.
Okay.
So the correct answer here is C. Does everyone feel comfortable as to why that is? Okay, Catherine, you okay with that? Okay. Other questions in this game we want to talk about? Yeah.
In general, I have a hard time with the rule substitution type questions. Or
Yeah.
like if this rule is in.
Yeah.
Like
So
if-
16.
Yeah,
Yeah.
16, and then also like.
There was another one in the other game.
Oh, was there 2 in this test?
Yeah, there's 2 in this.
That's cruel.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm alone.
I've taken the strategy of just bubbling C and move on.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, yeah,
Which is not the
about
best.
right.
Yeah, no, that is really good advice. For the substitution questions, if you're not finishing the games, it actually makes sense to skip them, just straight up. Don't even try that. And I'm not trying to be defeatist or anything, but they take time and we usually get them wrong. So I would skip them if you're not finishing. If you're getting close to finishing, though, you do want to start answering them because they're potential points, obviously. And the way I look at it is we're getting rid of a rule and we're replacing it with one of the 5 answer choices. And that answer choice has to recreate the exact same scenarios that the rule you're getting rid of created. There can be, it has to create everything exactly the same. It can't be too strict. In other words, it can't create requirements that weren't there before. If it prevents anything from happening that could have happened before, then it's too strict, it's not a good substitution, and it's out. The reverse is also true, though. If you encounter an answer choice that's too loose or too weak, in other words, it allows things to happen that couldn't have happened before, it's not a good substitution because it's not fulfilling the same role as the previous rule. So sometimes it's easy to see, not easy, but easier to see, oh yeah, this is a good replacement. It does exactly the same things. But a lot of times on the hard ones, it's just a matter of getting rid of the wrong answers and saying, well, that's too strict or too loose or both. So as I go, do you want to go through 16?
Yeah, I need to see like a strategy for like how you even start to tackle that.
Yeah.
Without guessing.
So let's see, what rule are we getting rid of? We're getting rid of the rule that F is discussed earlier than O, and O is earlier, wow, we're getting rid of a lot. And O is discussed earlier than K and R. So we're getting rid of, I'm going to do this in red, we're getting rid of all of that, right? Now the reason I didn't circle O is that the rule that T comes before O is still valid. Okay? So I don't want to be confused here, but basically F, K, and R are all gone, and we need something that recreates that. Okay, so A. T is discussed third, and the last 2 books discussed are K and R, not necessarily in that order. Okay, T discussed third. Well, let's just stop right there. Thoughts? Is this too strict or too loose?
Too strict.
Too strict. Because before I could have had T second, as far as I can tell. So this is imposing a requirement that wasn't there before. So it's too strict. It's out. So as long we don't even have to really think. I mean, this is a long answer choice, but we don't really have to think about it. T being third, sure, that could be true. Doesn't have to be true if this is wrong. All right. So B. T is discussed earlier than F. I'm stopping right there. What do you think about this?
Wasn't there before?
It wasn't there before, right? T certainly could have been before F, but it didn't have to be. So this is too strict, and it's out. Okay, answer choice C. K and R are among the last 3 books discussed, and F is among the first 3 books. Okay, K and R are among the last 3. They're actually among the last 2. So this isn't too strict. F is among the first 3 discussed. Yeah, that's true too. And notice F is a floater up here. So that's actually a good replacement of the F rule. Never knew there was an F rule on the test. But K and R have to be among the last three. I'm a little worried about that though. Victoria, you're shaking your head.
Because of O?
Yeah, like that does. This rule told us that K and R had to come after O, but if K and R just have to be among the last three, it seems like O could slip in after them. So this is too strict or too loose? Too loose. It allows for things to happen that couldn't have happened before. Robbie, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, I get it.
Cool. So C is out. D. K and R are discussed in consecutive weeks, not necessarily in that order, and O is discussed fourth. Okay, O being discussed fourth, that's fine. That was true before, that's true now, right? K and R are consecutive weeks, and they are not necessarily in that order. Well, if O is fourth, and N and T have to come before O, could K and R be consecutive before O? No. So this would force K and R to go after O, and it would force, that would then force F to come before O and be floating around. So this seems like a weird way of saying it, but a good replacement. So I might pick this one, but just so we can be sure, let's take a look at E. K and R are discussed in consecutive weeks, not necessarily in that order, and F is discussed third. What do we think about this?
It restricts F again.
Yeah, it restricts F again. F could have been 1, 2, or 3, so this is too strict. I have a feeling, too, it's too loose at the same time. Do you guys see how it's too loose? Mental exercises here.
Didn't tell you where K or R would have to go.
Yes, that's absolutely right. So maybe O comes last or whatever, right? So this guy is bad. You're not as excited as I am.
I mean, I'm feeling relieved because I get it now.
You get it now, yeah. Okay, good, good. So E is out and the answer is D. Any other questions in this game? No? We're good? Okay. All right.